right, welcome to another episode of the Logicast. My name is Blanca Kong. I'm joined by Gunnar Eos and Esoteric Skills. This week's episode is going to be a general episode about the gaming industry. We're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to talk about Microsoft and some of the recent changes that they've made to their business model, as well as changes that they've made to uh, what they what they're planning to do this year, as far as like you know headcounts and how they're going to distribute their games, etc. We're going to talk about some of the games, some of the bigger hits from this past few months. We're going to talk about a little bit about Oblivion, a little bit about Expedition 33, and some of the other titles that came out earlier this year, and just overall how we feel about where things are going, maybe some predictions on where we think things will end up, and just kind of share our opinions overall on how we feel about the industry as a whole and the hobby as a whole. So all the articles that I'm going to reference are in the description down below in case you want to read through them. First up is going to be article from themirror.com, and it's about Nintendo. This is the headline: Nintendo will break your Switch 2 if you break these new user agreement rules. Essentially, it's going to be a terms of service or a user agreement that Nintendo has the right to zap and brick your console if they have reasonable suspicion that you are homebrewing, if you're hacking your console, if you're pirating any games, anything like that, if they get any activity like that, if you obviously have to be connected online to for them to know that, but if they get any type of like evidence that that kind of activity is happening with your Switch 2, they're going to break your console. So this is bad news for those who practice homebrewing or who intend to homebrew or hack your console. This sucks for those people. Um, However, I don't blame Nintendo for doing it. Right? They're protecting their IPs and they're protecting their business. So I understand why people are upset about it, but I totally get why Nintendo is doing it. And Nintendo isn't exactly not known to be like anally protective over their hardware, their software, their IPs, their image, all of that stuff. This
Yeah.
doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
And I expected it as much. And I've seen this happen in the past. If I know the Xbox 360 is pretty easy to homebrew on, or at least it was back in the day in like the early 2010s. And if you went online with a hacked console, I've seen or heard stories of people's consoles being zapped and like not functioning.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
this isn't new per se. If you knew about that, and I'm sure there are other examples that I'm unaware of that maybe you listening in the comment section can comment down below and tell us about. I'd be interested to hear about it. This isn't new, and it doesn't surprise me that Nintendo was doing it. So, with that being said, what are your guys' like takeaway from that? How do you feel about
Um.
it? I'm okay with it because I'm not gonna homebrew the console, like it's fine. But what do you guys think in general?
Well, I'm not shocked that Nintendo is implementing this. I'm more shocked that they haven't implemented it sooner. As you stated, Nintendo is super anal when it comes to uh, their image and kind of protecting their IPs. And I get that because any business would want to protect their product. Um, I don't find it nearly as bad in this particular case because it is the game. This console is new, right? The new games will be coming out. It's accessible to everyone. I can understand if this was like maybe a 3DS. I can understand if this was a Wii, where when you're trying to get certain games and the servers down, and when you're looking to pretty much acquire games through GameStop or other third party vendors, and like the pricing is like skyrocketed to the point where it becomes unaffordable. It will kind of like put a dent in your pockets for other priorities you may have. That is not too bad. Like I can understand it for those consoles where you would have to homebrew, but for the Switch 2, a brand new console where everything is going to be available. Every single thing. Like Nintendo games typically during its launch date are usually flying off the shelves, and they usually replenish it fairly quickly. So with that, I don't see the reasoning behind homebrewing a Nintendo Switch 2 unless you're just absolutely being like greedy. I mean, I understand FOMO is a big deal. People might not have the financial stability in which to obtain certain titles or all titles that you wish to play. But that's the name of the game. You're going to have to pick your poison, and then you're going to have to wait patiently until you're able to acquire another game that you might be interested in. But throughout Nintendo Switch's 2's tenure, I believe that all these games are going to be available, so I don't see any reason why anything should be homebrewed at this point in time. That's just my take personally.
So okay. Um, Overall, in regards to the whole updating the EULA to allow for this caveat in their license agreement, I was actually pretty not shocked about it, but it was one of the few times where um it was I had to actually agree to it on the video game console that I was playing. So I remember I got an email about it, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I'm not even buying the console, it's whatever. And when I got on my Switch to play a game, I saw like a little exclamation point near my profile picture. I was like, the fuck? Am I signed out or something? So I click it, and it was the end user license agreement, and I had to agree to it to even see my friends list.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
like
Okay.
yeah, so it's more than just an email. We're like, oh, we're letting you know that we are changing we're changing the end user license agreement. No, you have to, in order to access your friends list, you have to accept it. So like Nintendo's very serious about this, and this is on the Switch. So this is like account wide, whether you're on Switch or Switch 2. But anyway, I just found that interesting and funny. We're talking about that now. In regards to it, I mean, yeah, I'm not terribly surprised. Kong gave an example of Xbox. I heard that Microsoft has had it on Xbox consoles for a hot minute. I would not be surprised if it was the same on PlayStation 4 and now 5. You best believe Sony, if they find out you're hacking your PlayStation 5, they would love to fucking just brick your console. Um, I think if you're kind of deep into the homebrew community, it's like it's like an any underground community. You know not to fly too close to the sun. So if you're going online and playing Mario Kart with a homebrewed Switch, you're kind of playing with fire and you're asking to get burned. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's like it's anything that could be considered illegal. You are willingly taking that chance, and if you're flaunting yourself in front of the cops, the digital cops, you might get busted. So buyer beware, user beware. You know what you're getting into. Um, and as far as like the whole homebrewing thing, I'll just play devil's advocate for that. Not all people are doing it for the sake of just pirating Nintendo games. I don't know how the Switch 2 is going to perform. I'm not really going to get the console. I hear it's around like a PlayStation 4 level of power. I don't know. Take that for what you will. Everything changes. But for the Switch, there were instances where people were buying Switch copies of the game, legitimate copies, and then dumping the game files onto their PC so they could play it at better resolution, at better frame rate. And I don't really have a problem with that
Yeah.
because you bought the game, in my opinion anyway. Video game companies might disagree. That's your property. So you can do with your property what you will. And if you want to play it on your PC, if you want to play it on your Steam Deck, if you bought the game brand new at MSRP, fine. I don't care. It's your game. But so that might happen again with the Switch 2 if the Switch 2 doesn't perform to, I don't know, any given person's specifications, right? So it's going to happen. The thing will get homebrewed. Just, again, like I said, just be careful. And it's also not always malicious. These are people who are like, this is my property. I'm doing with my property what I will. You will have people who are pirating the game because, haha, fuck Nintendo, but I still want to play that Mario, though. I think it's hypocritical, but whatever. People are gonna do what they're gonna do. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the nature of the beast. So, and it's not Nintendo. Nintendo alone isn't responsible for that. If you look at any industry that has intellectual property, they usually have stuff to protect their property. So it's just the world we live in, man. I mean, it is what it is.
So it's funny you say all of that. I want to read this straight from the article. We don't really know what this means. So let's see. The company announced revisions to its terms and conditions, which specifically target fans planning to hack their Nintendo device. Players looking to run emulators aren't any safer. Failure to comply with the new contract will result in a brick of your Switch console, essentially deactivating the device altogether. Doesn't specify whether or not if this is like an online offline thing, like if the terms of conditions exist and you don't agree to them. Let's say if there's a certain amount of time that you like, let's say you don't care if you access your friends list. Let's say whatever, you just ignore it. Will they brick you if you don't agree with it and you just ignore it?
I think
Right?
that's
We don't know.
I think that's where it would be a breach. It's not a
I
breach
mean,
of
I'm no
contract, but
lawyer, so
like
I can't like.
no. I'm not neither. I'm just this is my unofficial opinion. If you did not consent to your console being bricked via the EULA agreement, then they should not have grounds for doing it. If that makes any sense, because it's like, well,
You would think.
because the reason why this agreement is in place is because they're notifying you, they're giving you a head notice, and they need you to, they need your like digital stamp, in order to agree to the terms, so that if it were to happen, then you can't say, oh, this is illegal or whatnot. So I think that's why they're kind of pushing it out. Because if that was the case, they could have just done it without the formalities, right? Like, wouldn't that have been?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna read this next sentence, and then you tell me if they're playing by any kind of rules that you and I consider fair.
Okay.
This comes months after the authorities in Japan arrested a 58-year-old man accused of modding a Nintendo Switch device to obtain free games, otherwise known as jailbreaking.
Damn. Japan ain't
These
playing
guys
games.
aren't fucking around.
So your console gets bricked, and you go to jail. Is that what they're going for?
Well, I think the bricking is for international audiences.
Yeah, this is a local situation where they
Yeah.
arrested him and they somehow figured out that he jailbroke his system, and they arrested him. So I don't know if he's serving a heavy time or anything like that. We don't know, but the fact that they're taking it this far, I don't know. I don't know what other wells they're willing to go into in order to quell the behavior. So I'm just saying. So listen, my takeaway from this is simply, I don't know if Switch 2 is for me. I don't know if the new Donkey Kong game or whatever else they develop is even worth investing into, considering how, in my opinion, how anti-consumer this entire console is. At least anti-consumer to me. I think most people are okay with it. If the pre-order sales are anything to go by, most people are fine with the things that are in place, or just unaware of how this is all going to work.
Yeah, a mixture of the two, I think.
I think this is just going to end really poorly for the user experience. Personally, that's what I think. At least my user experience, what I look for in a console. So I'm not buying the Switch 2. That I've already made that decision. I thought about it when I saw the Donkey Kong game, because the game looks great. And it's not that people bitching about the price. I don't even think the price is like that big of a deal personally. Even when people were complaining, I'm like, you didn't expect it to be $450? Like, I was like, my money was on $429. I was like, it's gonna be like $429. It can't be less than $400. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And it was at $450, which I was like, yeah, it makes sense, right? The game's being $80 was like, ugh, I don't like the sound of that. But they're only doing that with Mario Kart, and they're doing it with Mario Kart because Mario Kart is a big enough franchise to where they can get away with that. Donkey Kong is going to launch at 70, which still feel like that's a bit much, but it's less. So it's like, so that wasn't really, for me. That's not a big deal. I'm more concerned about stuff like this. I'm more concerned about the game keycard thing. I'm more concerned about that stuff because that stuff to me is those are deal breakers personally.
Yeah, that's what killed my anticipation for the system. Mostly the game key card because, man, again, I know this happens on Sony and Microsoft's end, but like you can tell if a game is the full game. I guess it's the bluntness of it. That's what really got it for me. Whereas Microsoft and Sony kind of maybe just kind of floated under the radar, and it might not even always be Microsoft and Sony. It's usually a third party. Like in the case of Doom,
They were
that's
kind of discreet about it. Like it wasn't
yeah.
blatantly obvious
That's true,
to
but I
most
mean,
people.
we can appreciate the transparency, right? Because a lot of people kind of like
I mean,
locked
it
in on
helped me
their.
not buy their console.
That's what I'm
Sure, yeah.
saying. Like a lot of people, locked in on the purchase before even knowing that this was going to be a thing, right? Whereas Nintendo is like, okay, this is what we're doing, so
And
you can bow out now, or you can continue to support us. Another thing, to Kong's point about the mixed bag of people knowing not knowing, I think the folks who have every intentions of homebrewing the device are already privy to the agreement. At least I would assume so, because they usually have to like find ways to finagle and figure out how to do things without any issues with the system. They're usually basically what I'm trying to say is that they're usually more knowledgeable as to like what's going on within the company before they decide to make decisions like that. But the regular consumer base, I don't think they would care. I don't think they would even care about the difference between the
No,
key card and
this
physical.
this all of these things that we take issue with
Hmm.
is a 5% issue. Like
Yeah,
we I think represent. I pulled that number out of my ass. I don't know if we're 5%. It's probably less. I'm gonna say 5%. We're 5% of the gaming consumer population,
yeah,
and so most people aren't gonna care. Most people aren't gonna even know or care to know about any of this stuff. They're just like, whatever. The new Mario game, here, just take my money, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Like they're happy with whatever. So this is a niche issue. But
yeah.
I don't know. I like to think that this is gonna eventually bite them in the ass. Like
I don't
I like.
know.
I don't know.
Their
I
fan
don't
base
know. Like,
is too like the majority of the people who play their games is like family oriented, and kids who have like a large portion of like their take, in terms of
but I don't
purchase.
know.
So
I don't know
I
if
don't
it's
know.
really family oriented anymore. Like Kong said about the price, and what I do think that was like the next evolution of it. I've said this before, and I guess I'll just repeat myself.
Hmm.
Nintendo has always been like the more affordable console compared to the other big two, and the nebulous blob that is PC gaming. Nintendo was always like a family could afford it as a Christmas gift, a birthday gift, but like the economic situations ebb and flow, and you know $400 might be a lot. Like we're getting into the territory of like, is Mario worth it? Is Zelda worth it? To some people, to the diehards, yeah, definitely. I've seen videos of people selling in all of their Switches to pay for the Switch 2. So it's happening.
Which
Um,
I'm sorry to cut you off, Gunna,
hmm,
but I also heard that there's going to be a lot of games that aren't backwards compatible with the Switch 2. So it would behoove you
Another big deal breaker for me.
to keep your
yeah,
Switch one.
because it's not real it's not native backwards capability. They're emulating it. So that's why games are having issues on startup, and why some can start and some have can't start. It's just like that's it was those little things that killed my anticipation for it, because I was going to buy and I was like, okay, it's the next logical upgrade. They confirmed that the system was fully backwards compatible, so I can kind of treat it how I treat like my PS5, that
Yeah.
for a long while it was just a glorified PlayStation 4. But that's not the case, and somehow Sony gives me true backwards capability with the PS5, but Nintendo is now taking the Xbox route. So
Well, even PlayStation is not really doing like they're doing backwards compatibility in a weird way with like PS3 games. So like PS3 games, if you now to play PS3 games, for a lot of them, you don't download the game into your console. You actually stream it on the internet, and
Yeah.
the way it's done is they have, I guess, a warehouse somewhere full of PS3s running these games locally and just streaming from your PS3 onto your PS5 via the internet. It's like
that is some
Yeah.
Frankenstein
And
stuff.
it's so fucking stupid. And it's
yeah.
like that's why I still have my PS3 right next to me. and I got my PS3 collection behind me in a DVD portfolio.
Yeah, and
But
it's and your play experience is contingent upon how well your internet is. So if you have a shitty ISP, your chances of playing a PS3 game and having a good experience is going to be bad
not to
because
mention you are now in the PlayStation Network, so almost $100, please. Thank you.
yeah.
So, with that being said, I'm glad you started talking about money. Nintendo, I think, with the Switch 2 and some of the decisions that they've made with the price points and the game key cards being real transparent with it, because they have enough goodwill and enough kind of just like market dominance to be able to just come forward with uncomfortable business practices and just execute these things with
Yep.
little to no resistance because of the good faith that they've built and the reputation that they've built over the years, has given other companies emboldened perspectives in order to take on some similar practices. So within weeks of the Switch 2 being launched, Microsoft decided to update on their official website the price increases of Xbox hardware. So let me pull up the numbers. So the Xbox Series S used to be the budget entry into current gen gaming, and it was priced at $299.99, which is the price of a Switch, right? So it's a very attractive price point. That has gone up to $379.99, so almost
Yo.
$400. The Xbox Series S 1 TB went from, I think it was $350. It is now, or three, yeah, I think it was like $350 or $380, something like that. It's now $429. The Xbox Series X digital, which was $450, is now $550. The Xbox Series X, the regular one, which I think has a terabyte of space, was for $500, which was like the equivalent to like the PS5. That's now going to be $600. And then finally, the Xbox Series X 2 TB Galaxy Black Special Edition has gone from, I believe it was 600 to 729. It was like 629 or 7. It is now 729. So if you want the top tier Xbox system on the market, it's gonna. And this is in USD. It's gonna. It changes from, depending on your currency. We're just talking United States here. Sorry, we're American. $730 before taxes.
So
They're blaming tariffs
oh, I bet
and
they are.
right? But these are all consoles that have been
These are
sitting in
in-house.
warehouses in the United States for fucking months. Okay, mind you, just last year, just this last holiday, Xbox Series S's were as low as $250 brand new,
Mm-hmm.
and Xbox Series X's, the black console, the big, the regular one, those were as low as, I remember, $379 brand new with a code for a game. Like you could get the Diablo
It's
4
like Far
bundle
Cry or
for that
something like
price,
that.
or yes,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not recommended, but doesn't matter. You got a free code for a game, and now they have almost. I mean, to go from $379 holiday sale to a new $600 price, that's huge. That's like a 40% increase to where it was, and these are going to be the new standard prices. And they first broke this news on GameStop's Twitter, so GameStop was the first one to like tout this information. Obviously, it was official news from Microsoft, but they use GameStop as like, all right,
Okay,
go
stop.
tell them, go tell
Uh,
them
Be,
about it.
be the mute. Be the scapegoat.
So
um,
anyway, what is your reactions to that, guys? You
well,
seemed so excited. I saw the energy when you heard $730. You
well, well,
excited? You happy?
well. Given my reaction, I'm sure you guys can see like how I feel about this. My question is, how well were they doing in terms of sales as of right now? Because as far as I know, Xbox wasn't doing too well when it came to their console sales. Like every GameStop I go to, it's like an abundance of Series
Yeah,
X's and S's. Just
definitely. When you compare it to PlayStation 5, they're doing terribly. They're taking a wash, 100%. Especially when the consoles go on sale like that, they're begging people to buy them at that point.
yeah, and
But I'm,
what
I'm glad you bring up sales. But before I come in with this next article, I'm gonna let you and Gunner get your points out, and then I'll come in with the next.
Okay, so that's my first question. My next question is, what is their game plan to warrant the raise in prices? Because Xbox, my issue has always been with Xbox from after like post 360 are the exclusives. Like anything that's most of the things that are purchasable on the Xbox can be obtained on the PS5. So why the hell would I be inclined to, buying your console at these egregious prices that you raised so suddenly and blamed it on tariffs? I know tariffs are bad potentially. They absolutely are to some degree, but you're using that as an excuse to raise this um, at the sheer ignorance of your like you believe that your customer base are ignorant to like what you're doing. I want to know like what is the game plan, because I watched their developer direct, and they had one exclusive which was South of Midnight, which was a good game, and then I was under the assumption that Clear Obscure Expedition 33 was exclusive to their console, but it wasn't. It's actually PS5 obtainable. And they spoke about also Ninja Gaiden, which I'm absolutely looking forward to, and I believe that's also going to be on the PS5. So like, what are you doing to have the balls? Like, you're laying your balls on the table, and you're not presenting anything to like back that up. Like, what the hell are you doing? That's my question.
So,
Yeah.
I could kind of answer your question because they think they can get away with it, and they're gonna blame tariffs, and they'll look to Nintendo as like, well, they did it, so we can do it. The problem is what we just discussed. Nintendo has the clout, so to speak, to do that and get away with it because they have massive franchises like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid.
Hmm.
Nintendo has sold cardboard to people, and people have bought it.
Yep.
So Nintendo can do that. Microsoft cannot, but there's someone or someone's in their somewhere in their office is telling them they can do this and get away with it. And as far as your first party question, they don't have it anymore because Halo is on PC and will more than likely show up on the PlayStation 5 soon. Gears of War is confirmed to show up on PS5 soon. More than likely 2, 3, 4, and 5 will follow. Who knows? The new one coming out,
Emergence
E-Day,
Day or something like
yeah,
that.
will
Yeah.
more than likely drop for the PlayStation 5 after a year. And what the fuck else do they have? All the Bethesda games show up on multi-plat, so it's not even they hoard Bethesda. They have nothing. They're just doing it because they saw Nintendo do it and they decided, fuck it, we'll give it a shot. But they lack what Nintendo has. They have no strong first-party IPs to pull something like a $700 console. They just don't.
At at this
But
point,
somebody up there is telling them they do.
and they're a complete idiot. Like, because at this point, what I would do as if I was an Xbox exec, I would pull out of the console war and just focus on streaming platform. Just focus on your streaming service. That is it. Because you're gonna raise the price for a console that's been around for more than 5 years. What the hell are you doing? What are you guys doing? You have no exclusives. You don't have shit to back up.
So I think what you're saying is what eventually is the long-term plan, but pulling off the console war right now would be they would be admitting defeat, and it would make them look weak, which would affect their brand and their image, which they can't have.
But
So
but looking stupid is better. Like, you mean to
looking
tell me?
stupid to us, the 5%, but people who are just getting into consoles or whatever, like they're gonna see the new price point, and they're Microsoft. I think is they're trying to mitigate their losses by taking a bold stance. So they have already been taking a loss over the last four and a
Yeah.
half, almost 5 years on hardware sales. That's already been, I'm pretty sure, well established. They have not been making money on that, right?
Hmm.
So they figured, well, fuck it. Nintendo's doing this. They've opened the floodgates. What we have nothing to lose. The console's already not selling. might as well make a little money off the people who are dumb enough to buy it or who are loyal enough to buy it and invest into our stuff. So, with that being said, this is from Variety. This is the headline. Xbox content service drive 5% overall Microsoft gaming revenue growth, hardware sales down 6%. What a surprise. But I think that's all part of the plan. See, so let's just quickly go through this. So Microsoft's gaming revenue was excuse me. It's such crap that I can almost
It's all the bullshit you gotta speak.
Microsoft's gaming revenue was up 5% year over year for January and March quarter. This is after they've started to port over their first party titles to other platforms. The tech company's gaming specific sales reached 5.7 billion for each for the 3-month period, up 270 million from the comparable year ago figures. Content and services increased 8%, which is basically Game Pass, which Microsoft attributes to the performance across the Xbox Game Pass offering, which the company has been promoting for over the past year with the day one availability for many of its biggest games, and its Call of Duty and Minecraft franchises hardware revenue, which is made up of sales for Xbox devices, including the Xbox Series X and S consoles, was down 6% total. Let's see. Let's scroll down here. Let's just kind of go through this. Call of Duty released its most recent installment, Black Ops 6, last fall, and Minecraft likely benefited from somewhat from an anticipation for the Jack Black-led Minecraft movie, which debuted April 4th. Blah, blah, blah. That movie did great because Minecraft. And then Microsoft Chairman CEO Satya Nadella, that's an American name, said that Minecraft is seeing a 75% increase in weekly active users since the movie released. No surprise. The decrease in Xbox console sales come as competitor Nintendo is set to debut its highly anticipated Switch 2 device in June. Similar to the PlayStation, Xbox has yet to reveal its own plans for a next-gen console. Last quarter, okay, the last paragraph. Overall, Microsoft posted a 70.1 billion revenue for the quarter, up 13%, and a net income of 25.8 billion, up 18%, or earnings per share of $3.46. Analysts had predicted a 68.4 billion in revenue and a EPS of $3.22 increase. So they've increased their overall revenue and sales, even though they're suffering a 6% loss in their hardware sales, and that number is going to continue to grow. So it's like I think they're gonna get away with it. Like,
but I don't. But it clear the proof is in the pudding. Your hardware sales are not doing that great. So your biggest tactic is to embolden the price. That makes no goddamn sense.
So it kind of does though when you think about it.
Okay.
Because they're not, even if that 6% loss didn't exist. Let's say it was 6% up.
Okay.
How much is that really in profitability? It might be significant in net sales, but like in profit, probably not much, honestly, because their hardware I don't think is super profitable at the old MSRP. So it's like a loss leader. It's like, yeah, we're gonna lose money here, but we're gonna make it at the back end, and we're hoping that in the long term, 10, 15 years from now, where the market is changed a little bit, we can pivot with the industry, right? Because if let's say in 2 years or 3 years, Sony decides to release the PlayStation 6, whatever that is, right? I think Sony's going to stay in the hardware race. I think the way it's going, I think hardware will still exist. One of my predictions over the last few years was that next gen gaming would be just apps, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's how it's gonna go eventually, but maybe not as soon as I thought. So I think, and I could be dead wrong, but I think the PlayStation 6 is going to be a box, and I think it's going to be a digital only, connect online at all times system, right? And it's going to be closer to what like a low end PC is today. I think that's where it's going to go. By that time, Microsoft, I could see them pivoting out of the hardware space and just offering services and publish, first having just games. They basically become Sega, right?
Yeah.
I could see them going that route. And so in them doing that and increasing the prices of their hardware, at least they're not taking a complete wash on the profitability standpoint from the consoles that have already been produced, from people who would buy the Xbox for whatever reason. So I think it's just It's just a long-term strategy that in the short term they're going to lose money, but they're going to make it on the back end.
But
It doesn't make sense on the front, but when you think about it and dig a little more, you could see the logic in it, even though it's a little flawed. But I could see
yeah,
it.
I can somewhat see what you're saying, but it's like in the interim, right? They're kind of sort of shooting themselves in the foot because you're okay. You have a console that plays physical games, but yet your big releases such as Call of Duty, such as South of Midnight, games like that are free day one should you pay for the subscription. Given this day and age, people are less inclined to even want to like kind of, because those games, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, those games could be played via a PC, and I think when I checked my smart TV has the Xbox app as well. So it's like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. It's kind of like you're spreading seeds and you're not like watering them to sustain them. You're not like focusing on one portion of like, basically it's like they're spread too thin. I think they're spreading too thin, and I think they're kind
I
of
think in the current state they are spread too thin. I think they're willing to have the console plant die from dehydration if it means that they get to sow their seeds further out into the industry, into other pots, right? To have their plants grow in other companies' pots. It's like, well, now how, like, think about it. In, like, let's say 5 years time, let's say what I'm saying comes true.
hmm
Microsoft as an entity is not going anywhere,
absolutely
right?
not.
We
Yeah,
could all
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah.
that, right? Because Microsoft is
No.
just not Xbox. Microsoft is a
The world's
gigantic
most
company
popularly used operating
operating system.
system.
Yep.
for computers. So like
Yeah.
it's Windows is their moneymaker for sure,
Yeah.
right? So
hmm
they're not going anywhere. If they can make it to where the Xbox studio is just producing games and giving the offering the cloud service and the Xbox Game Pass, they could just dip out of the hardware. They can continue to make hardware in the form of controllers, but like they don't have to get in a console race because that race is there's no longer a race to race. Like there is no winning there. It's like, why even compete?
Yeah.
But they're not going to pull out now in the middle of a console generation because that makes them look super weak. So like they don't want to hurt their image, right? So they'd rather lose millions of dollars in production because they know they're going to make it back hand over fist with software, with subscription service, with people subscribing to their services, as well as other means that they're going to make their money from. It's like we're going to lose money, sure. We've already lost a ton of money, but don't worry about it. We're going to make it all back.
Yeah.
With these projects lined up and with these services, these dummies are going to buy our Xbox service the moment Black Ops 26 comes out. So it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And I think it will be fine because the market is dictating that it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. As a consumer, I don't know how you look at that, and then you look at what's on offer, and you go, "Yes, Xbox. That's the guy I want to go with." It's just, I, I'm personally
Most
over the.
people don't look that far into it. They just look
Yeah,
at the
maybe.
price.
Yeah.
They look at my friend has an Xbox. I want to play with my friend. I'm buying an Xbox.
Yeah, and I have one too. It was it was gifted to me, which I appreciated or whatnot. Um, but I was expecting more. Like, I mean, they're buying out all these different companies and whatnot. I was expecting like they were just gonna come out the wazoo with exclusives or whatever. But I don't know. It's like
In a
they're
way, they are, but just not in the way that you want it, right? Oblivion is great. That game has sold. We have an article. It's going to be in the description talking about it. That game's has. We don't know if it's sold 4 million, but like it had 4 million users in the first few days. So presumably they sold close to 4 million or sold 4 million copies within the first weekend of release. What else did they launch? They're launching the Gears of War Reloaded. I anticipate that's going to do really well for them. The Indiana Jones game did really well for them, from my understanding. I don't care because that's a movie game. That's not even a real video game. Um, what else did they release? They released something that did all right. I think
Mm,
Avowed did okay, not great, but okay for
I
them.
think it did okay.
and then they
Yeah.
did South of Midnight as well.
South of Midnight's an indie title. I know it's on Xbox Game Pass, so people have spoken highly about that game, even though I don't know if it's for me. I won't get into why, but yeah, I think it's going to work out fine for them in the long run. And that takes me into this next article from Forbes. Microsoft lays off about 3% of its workers across the company to adjust for AI business. So now they have AI already replacing 3% of their workforce, which is about 7,000 people across Microsoft. This is not just Xbox. This is Microsoft as a whole. So I'm pretty sure in the next quarter, they're going to report profit gains because of all the people they're not paying anymore. Like they're
Yeah, but that's
Yep.
that's finagling the numbers though. That's like we had to let go all these people in order to gain profit, which makes sense. If you have to do it, then by all means. But it's like the numbers are a little more, I would say, skewed in your favor
yeah, but
now. You know?
most investors and most executives aren't going to look deeper than
No,
just
yeah.
number go up. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
that's how these people operate. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're not going to read these articles they're looking at that we're looking at. They're not going to listen to us or people like us because we're down here. And it's like, well, why would the fuck would I listen to you? You're just a fucking user. What? I'm above you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not even going to read through this article. There's no real reason to. It just
No.
talks about how basically AI is replacing a bunch of jobs, and um, this is good business
But
for them.
Can't see. I
yeah.
didn't see
Period.
that
I mean,
coming.
nah. I think people need to come to terms with AI is here.
Yeah.
Like it is here. It is among us. It is not going away. That genie is out the bottle. That genie is gone. The bottle's not even around anymore.
It's a gin now. It's free.
And yeah, he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing. Um, and you know what? In some respects, AI can be a good thing, and it is replacing redundant jobs that we had to staff with a human, and now doesn't need to be staffed anymore. It's the way from a pleb who has no skin in the game. The way I see AI, it is another tool. It is how people said, "Oh, cars won't," how what they said about cars when automobiles became a thing. What they said about electricity, like, "Oh, that's just a fad. That's not going to stick around." No, AI is here, and you either learn to work with AI or you will be replaced by AI. And trust me, you see people now complaining about. You'll see an article or a Twitter post every now and then where, oh my God, this company used AI art. Shame them. After a while, that's going to die down, and AI art will get better and better and better to the point where you will not be able to differentiate what was drawn by a human and what was done by AI. And once we hit that point, if we're not there already, the people are going to go, bro, I don't care. This shit looks good, and they made that in 5 minutes. Why am I coming to you and it's going to take you 3 months to make this? This thing made it in 5 minutes, and it looks just as good, if not better, because I can change a prompt and change the entire parameter of the art piece. And as far as these corpos go, that's all that matters. I don't like. Again, it's going to hurt the art profession, and we're already seeing that. But my only input for that little bit of the article is AI is here to stay. It is going to become more entrenched. You either adapt or die. As cruel as that sounds and brutal as it sounds, it is the nature of the beast. Like, it's here, and these corporations are going to use it. And right now they're a little skittish because they don't want to be the bad guy. But someone's gonna come in like Nintendo and go, "Yeah, I'm using AI. What the fuck are you gonna do about it? You gonna buy my product, right? Yeah. Okay, buy my product. It's only a matter of time. Like it's gonna happen.
I mean, ironically speaking, I mean, it's the same thing could be said with Xbox, right? When they took a bold statement and they were like, well, glorified installation disc, and then everybody frowned upon that, and then now it seems as though moving along, the other competitors are adopting that shit, and Xbox is like, damn, did it too soon, and now everybody has accepted it. So, yeah, it's the same instance with AI. I just hope that there are some contingencies that are in place in terms of like its formidability, because AI can probably when used in the wrong hands can probably skew a lot of things. We're doing images at this moment. It could they're working on videos, things like that. I can see people utilizing this to kind of skew narratives and whatnot. So I think that there needs to be something in place to kind of like quell it a bit. I know that it's going to be here to stay. Given the company that I work with and what I do, it has to be utilized. So you
I think
just
the
got.
most that's gonna happen is you're gonna get a warning. Like these images are made with AI. It's like, Surgeon General's warning on cigarettes. This causes cancer. And I think that's about it. And then at that moment, it's gonna be up to you, the individual, whether you want to support this piece of media or not because it uses AI imagery. And I think that's the
It's fair. I think it's like equivalent to an ESRB rating, right? So as long as they have that in place, letting it be known, full transparency, I'm okay with that. But I can see like
that's what I see happening because it's not going away. It's not. It is here, and it is already entrenched. And
hmm
once people get more accustomed to it, you're going to see it more and more, and we're going to see layoff of non-essential and, depending how good it gets, essential people. Hell, Ubisoft was playing with before they went bankrupt. Ubisoft was playing with the idea of using AI for NPC chatter in video games. Those are voice actors you no longer have to hire because we have NPCs just saying random lines, which is
yeah,
what the voice actor would do in a video game. Just pretend you're a person in a world. You get an AI to do that. You can have a million different conversation prompts in your game, and people would probably praise it because it's like, oh man, I've never heard the same line more than once.
yeah. MMOs would be very effective with that.
Yeah, for the consumer base, that's great because they get something new and flashy. For the voice acting industry, it's a huge blow because so that's jobs that disappear.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
we've seen this trend happen in human history, and you have to adapt. You have to find a niche, and you have to maybe change course. And we're seeing that now with AI.
I think AI will be the destruction of the human species. But how are we doing on time?
We are 47 minutes in, so
Okay, so we got a little time to cover the
yeah,
last
yeah,
few
yeah,
articles.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm against AI 100%. I agree that it is on an individual basis, it is in your best interest to accept that it is here and it is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And so it's best to just kind of like learn to live with it and maybe work with it and use it as a tool to make your day-to-day life easier or more convenient or whatever that looks like.
yeah. But don't make
But
it your life.
I think it will for many people destroy. Um, I think it's going to destroy. This is like super black pill, so excuse me, but I think it's going to destroy the human species as we know it as they continue to improve on AI and as they continue to improve robotics in conjunction with AI. It's gonna get fucking weird, bro. Like Detroit Become Human is like a glimpse into the future,
Yeah,
man. To me, that's what
those
I think.
robotic strippers are gonna start killing people. Why am I doing this? Why am I programmed to be on the pole?
Brother, I think that shit's gonna happen. We might not be alive for it. I think we will though, consider how fast things are progressing. But like, I don't know,
It's
man.
interesting
It's
times.
it's looking rough. So I'm gonna collect my little video games and I'm gonna play my little 2005 shit.
In a bunker.
Uh, I'm just gonna, try to get human contact when I can. But you ever see that movie Circuit with Bruce Willis, where everybody lives in pods?
No, I haven't seen it.
I
I haven't
remember
seen
that
it.
one.
That's a great
Yeah.
movie. That was a
I
great
gotta
movie.
check it out. Okay.
That's our future. Anyway,
Poor guy.
uh, so in conjunction with all that, we talked about the hardware trends and where the industry is. Let's look at some of the, I guess, more positive things. Oblivion Remaster hits 4 million players in less than a week, with a big chunk of them buying the game on Steam. So that game has seen extreme success. Oblivion is one of my favorite games. Came out in I think 2005 or six. I played it on Xbox 360. It blew me away then. I'm sure when I get it, it will blow me away again. It's been critically acclaimed. People love it. People are like, "Oh my god, this game is amazing," and it's blowing everything else out of the water. This is a 20-year-old game.
I've
They
never
didn't
played
change
it.
much. They didn't change anything about
They
it,
didn't change
really.
anything. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Okay.
You know,
They did this stupid shit with character creation, and then
they did the Type A, Type B
yeah, and if
bullshit.
that's a killer for you,
Um,
that's gonna kill it. But other than that, it's the
but
same game.
other than that, it's exactly the same. It's just upgraded graphics. They added things like sprint that you could sprint in the game, which you couldn't do in the original.
Oh,
Like just quality of life things. But the core game is the same, and the core game is fantastic, right? in conjunction with that, I haven't played it yet. It looks cool. I'll probably try it out at some point. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. This article says sales dip in one region despite strong launch, but it had a very strong launch, and it's going strong. This was developed by a French indie developer, and the game, I think, in 2 weeks sold over 2 million copies, which is really good for a turn-taking RPG. And that's the point that I want to like pinpoint on. Turn-taking RPGs are considered like archaic and old, and nobody wants them anymore. And turn-taking, what the fuck? What are we in PlayStation 1 era? Yeah, it sold 2 million copies, and people are. This is a Game of the Year contender.
It is for me. Yeah.
Turn-taking RPG is a Game of the Year contender. That's
Well, I mean,
unexpected.
is it though? Because I mean, Baldur's Gate kind of became Game of the Year, you know, and that's kind of in the same vein.
But that's another game that like shocked people how good it was, and like how the reception was very positive. And if you ask certain fans, not fans of Baldur's Gate, just like certain gamers or certain industry professionals, they would have not predicted that. They go, that's not winning. Yeah, it's a great game. That's cute and all, but it's not winning Game of the Year. Our insert fucking AAA trash, that's winning Game of the Year. And it didn't, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's... It's moments like this where it's just like, okay, there is a little bit of hope, but will it be enough to turn the tides? I don't think so. But, I just wanted to add some levity to the end of this
A little white pill at the end.
So my thing is, I know I spoke about it during stream. Like, I've been eyeballing this game for quite some time. I did, secure a copy of it. I love the aesthetic. I love the trailers. I watched the developer direct for Xbox, and they spoke on it. The dev team spoke on it, and it looked amazing with the different things that you can do. The skill tree was robust from what I've seen. You can change your each individual to different classes and things like that. They had some creatures that are kind of equivalent to like summons or whatnot. I don't know the full intricacies of like the game, but from what I was spoon-fed and like provided within the trailer, I loved it. Like, the game looked phenomenal. Here's my thing though. It's kind of like, like, and not trying to diminish the game, but it's like you have a bunch of shit that has been given to you on a regular basis, and then you're eating it, whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, it tastes good, blah blah blah, it's alright. Then you get like pot roasts with like, all the garnishes, all the ingredients, everything, and it just tastes much better, but it's not that elevated from what you was given before, but it only is perceived that way because of the fact that like you haven't had it in such a long time, if you get what I'm saying. Kind of like, okay, if this was out along with, like, let's say Final Fantasy 7 with updated graphics, it was turn-based. Let's say, like, if we had a whole bunch of games, I
agree with you. It's I've made this argument a few weeks ago where it's like, I think I talked about Space Marine 2. Like, if Space Marine 2 came out in 2010, it would just be another action game. It wouldn't be anything special. It was special because it was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yeah, I agree with you. Expedition 33, if it had came out in the PS2 era, would have been just like another really good RPG game.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my take. I could be wrong.
I'm not an RPG expert. We have one here.
I mean, yeah, because I dabble in RPGs. It's been a while, but I know this game is phenomenal. I've seen the things that, its potential. But I think overall, you know what? I can't even say that because I haven't even played it. So I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna give like my overall take on it about whether or not it's
as you should. Well, I've played both of them, the ones we talked about. I decided to pull the trigger on Oblivion after I heard about Doom not being on the full disc. I was like, fuck it. If I'm gonna get a digital only game, I'll get the one that costs $50. So I bought Oblivion. I'm enjoying it. I played it back on the PlayStation 3. And that was my first, like, Oblivion on a console. Yeah, I have access to it now, because it was always a PC game back in the day. So it's great. love it. It's fun. It's Oblivion. I'm enjoying it. Expedition 33 is a phenomenal game. It's my game of the year. It is what Final Fantasy VII Remake should have been, in my opinion, because it has a lot of the old school RPG mechanics. I remember there was one when you finish the beginning and you get on a world map. I stood there, I was like, holy shit. I have not played an RPG with a world map
In a long
in
time.
fucking years. I mean, I'll play 7 and 9 religiously, but I'm talking about a brand new game in
Yeah.
years because everything has to be some open world, cinematic experience. And I recently played the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I stopped playing it because I got bored of it. It just got boring. Like the flash and substance was just hollow. And Expedition 33 has flash and substance. It has the action commands to get more damage and to parry and to dodge. But there's that key part of the game that stuff like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy 16 have lost because it still requires you to plan. And it requires you to make a formation in your head like, okay, I'm going to do this. I need to heal this turn. I got to buff this turn. Okay, I got to make sure I parry this attack or she's going to die. Shit, she died. I got to res her. Like, you don't
Yeah.
think about that with these modern games. You just don't because there were so many people on the internet saying, "Oh, this is boring. This is not fun. I can't get into this because I find it too hard." So I'm gonna name drop Square Enix. They were like, "Okay, we got you, bro. We're gonna make our game an action RPG, and we're gonna add all these difficulty sliders and make it really easy." Which again, Clair Obscur has. It has a story mode difficulty setting, which makes the combat very easy, and it also has a setting where it will automatically do the action commands for you on the offense. It won't do it on the defense, but it'll do it on the offense. So if you find them too troublesome or too hard, again, accessibility. You can flip it and play the game the way you want it. But that game's amazing, and it's just another example. Again, it's another example of the lie that we have been sold by major gaming industries where these games need to be 70, need to be $90 in order for them to succeed. And again, Clair Obscur and Oblivion just showed that is incorrect. That you can sell a game at a $50 price point, which is accessible to a lot more people than a 70 or 80. And if the game is quality, I know, shocking, if the game is quality, people will show up and they will buy it.
Yeah.
So I don't think these games will revolutionize the game industry, but I think what we're going to have is that we're going to have the double A space that is more solidified than ever, which will pump out hopefully quality titles at affordable prices, and you will still have your juggernauts. And for their sakes, they better hope the people show up because if they don't, we're going to see more cases like Dragon Age Veilguard and mediocre releases like Avowed, but they have such inflated budgets that their studios might not be able to recover, which loops back to the layoffs that we talked about in the game industry that are happening across the board. So yeah, TLDR, those games are priced perfectly at $50, and Oblivion is great if you've played it. If you've never played it, it's something that isn't Skyrim. Because I know Skyrim's been done to death. But an Expedition is a brand new IP, and it has no name brand recognition behind it. It has nothing to kind of lay its back on. It had to show its chops and prove that it can stand on its own, and it did. And it's a phenomenal game, and I would love to see more double A games like that exist in the space because they will find success. And if it causes Square Enix to get its head out of its fucking ass and maybe rethink some stuff, all the better. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, at least Square Enix did not fully diminish or get rid of the notion of turn based because they do put out a couple of gems here and there that are turn based. So they understand that there is value there. I just don't understand why they would deviate from the franchise that put them on the map with turn based you know
They they
gaming.
they, they bought into the lie. Well, they bought into the internet saying that this is boring, not fun. and they think these people have money. They don't know Twitter clout means nothing, so they think they have money, and that translates to sales. So they make the game that they think people want to see, and when these people don't turn up, and all it does is turn off and dissuade your original fan base, they go, but what happened? I thought everybody on Twitter said this game is great. Well, again, Twitter's free. You can say whatever the fuck you want on it. Doesn't translate to sales. But
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't have as much disdain for the remakes. I did play the first one briefly, and I haven't booted up the second one yet. And then I do have, what is it? Is it Final Fantasy 16 or whatever it's called? I forgot what
that's the
number we're
latest
at.
one, yeah.
Yeah, the latest one. I also have that, so I'm gonna give it a fair shot. But when I did play the first Final Fantasy 7, and then I played the original because I played it again on the Steam Deck, there was more of it was more fun. Just being frank, it was definitely more fun in my opinion. But it could also be a bias there. You know, it could be that
Probably
because
is.
I'm a
But there
kid.
is a
You
way
know,
to make turn-based games fun if you just sit down and try to like think of how a system can work within the confines of a turn-based game and allow for more user input, which Expedition 33 did with the action command, which isn't even in a new thing. This
yeah,
exists in Mario RPG. This
yeah,
exists in Legend of Dragoon. Like, this is not new. It's just they tried it and like, well, let's see how it works in 2025, and
yeah.
it clearly worked.
They just made it a little more dynamic. They took the current gen graphics and took like I guess arguably an archaic mechanic, and they put it together along with a more modern mechanic, and made gold. You know, it's, I mean, it's absolutely have been done before. You know, Skies of Arcadia. You have the Tales of Symphonia games. You have the Grandier games. You know, you have a bunch of games like that that I would say contributed to like their inspiration and success. But you know, what do I know? And then you also have games like Neo, which was phenomenal. Took the pretty much took the I would say inspiration from Sekiro, because it was like the exact same type of game, just in a 2D format with a phenomenal story. You know, intriguing characters, and just like a nice difficulty to kind of like spice everything up. So it, I mean, again, the proof is in the pudding. I don't know what these quadruple, quintuple A title people are doing, but I mean, hopefully, you know, this situation is like clothes, where an old style becomes like the new style out of nowhere, and it becomes the norm for a couple of decades, and then reverts back to being old again. But that's just me being optimistic.
Well, I'm glad that you're optimistic. Um, we'll see what happens. I mean, this just proves to me that the old way of doing things was just simply superior, and I hope more people invest into new IPs um, that play like older games, or just new IPs that play well in general. It doesn't have to necessarily be like older games. Older games just tend to be, not all of them obviously, but like they tend to just be higher quality, and they tend to have a little more soul, and they tend
Yeah,
to just
yeah,
kind of, you could tell that uh, fun was prioritized back then in the development cycle, and not so much how can we manipulate the user to use our product more, how can we manipulate the user to spend more money in these microtransactions. Like, these weren't really at the forefront of the conversations,
Yeah,
as far as like what the product needed to be. It was more about, well, let's make a good game that people will like and talk well of, so that we can get more sales. And so I wish that we were there, and we're not. We're in this other place, which I don't like, of manipulation, and let's just nickel and dime at every opportunity. And once we gain enough favor or enough leverage, we are going to basically twist people's arms into buying into our products moving forward. That's what Nintendo's doing. That's what Microsoft is trying to do, and I think will eventually do. Sony will follow suit, I'm sure. There's already rumblings of price increases for their hardware, and I'm sure that they're services are also going to go up in price, just like Game Pass is going to go up in price probably later this year.
But
It just, for me, it's just like, all right, this is just another log in the fire of I'm out of modern gaming. I think I'm just gonna
yeah,
stick
I
to my
get
old
you.
stuff.
But
What are we gonna
hey,
say, Gunner?
you can buy The Last of Us 1 and 2 remastered, definitely for the last time. We won't do it again versions. Please. Please watch our show. For the love of God, please watch the show.
That's gonna be a no from me, dog, on both accounts. I don't want your game, and I don't want your show. But people who watch the show are now feeling the pain that we felt with the
That's
game
oh man,
4 or 5 years
funny.
ago, which
Yeah.
is hilarious. I love it.
So
And apparently the show is even worse than the game.
Somehow
So
so question. I don't know if they did like a poll, but the audience that are currently watching the show, because I haven't watched it, um, is it just new faces, like people who have not played the game? Or, like, is there a higher percentage of those type of people as opposed to people who are torturing
there's
themselves?
no definitive empirical data to like suggest
yeah.
either way.
Okay.
What are you gonna
No,
say?
no, I was gonna say most of the anecdotal information. It's a lot of people that watched the first show and was like, "Oh, cool zombie show," and it's got my boy Pedro. Um, and it's people who just obviously watched the sequel and did not know they are sticking with the game. So when that scene happened, it fucked them over. And now we are seeing that the actress that plays Ellie was getting hard carried by Pedro. Say of him what you will, she was getting hard carried, and now she has to be solo, and it's like, wow, you're not that good.
Yeah, I kind of feel
So again, no hard data,
yeah.
but from what I've read and from what I can gather, the general sentiment is these people who are upset are people who haven't played the games and who watched the first season and liked it and just kind of went into it good faith. I'm like, oh well, surely season 2 is just going to be just as good, if not better. And they
Yeah.
were hit with the golf club from behind the head, just like we all were 5 years ago.
Because
So
when
yeah,
you played the game, you knew what was happening, and you were like, I'm not tuning into this bullshit. But
Yeah, there was a couple
yeah.
of people who played the game. They were like, the first season was great. It was almost a 1-to-1 depiction of the game or
it
whatever.
was minus
Um,
episode 3. It was.
I don't know about that. I mean, it was close. They tried to make it as close to 1-to-1 as possible, but I feel like there was already, I saw cracks in like agendas and all this other like just setups. I'm just like, of course.
Yeah, season 2 went whole
I know.
hog, and they went all up in that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But this isn't about Last of Us. So I'm trying to end on a positive note, which is why I ended with Oblivion and Expedition 33.
Agreed.
So
Support
anyway,
those games. They're great. Support them.
yes, support those games. Um, you know, if you decide to support Switch 2 and Microsoft and I think eventually Sony and all these like what I'm going to say anti-consumer business practices, you in turn give up the right to complain about them.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
if you could support it if you want, or if you feel like it's not a big deal, that's fine. But just know that you can't complain. I don't want to hear shit from these people like, oh, this is unfair, or whatever comes next, because there's always going to be a next. Once these prices are
Mhm.
solidified and becomes the new normal, oof, I can only imagine what the prices are going to be for the next PlayStation, whatever Nintendo comes up with next. If Microsoft comes up with an Xbox for whatever it's called, these could be $800 to $1,000 consoles at day one launch. That could be a thing.
yeah, they're
Um,
gonna push the envelope. They're gonna see how much they can get out of
they're going to
people.
push until they feel there's too much resistance.
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
given how fragile and how just kind of how I'm just gonna say fragile, how fragile people are, they're gonna cave and they're just gonna continue to push the envelope. So it is what it is. So that being said, if you enjoy the episode, give the video a like, comment down below, let us know what you think about any of the topics that we covered today. If you have suggestions for topics that you want to hear about us talk about, leave it in the comment section. Subscribe for more content. We release podcast episodes every single week at Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Check out the description for all the articles that we mentioned. If you want a deeper understanding, or if you want to read through the articles yourself, that'll be there for you, as well as the social media links. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Discord. Check out the Discord. Check out the Twitch. Mr. Esoteric, he streams 2 times a week on Twitch. He streams all sorts of games, so definitely check him out. Give him a follow. And with that being said, we'll see you next week for next week's episode. Peace.
Take care.
Take it easy.